"You're too old for this position. We want people who breathe innovation." Victor Reynolds' words cut through the silence of his minimalist office as he pushed the folder with my termination documents across the table. 12 years of dedication, to QuantumLeap reduced to a discriminatory sentence and a cardboard box. "Eleanor, you've built incredible things here," he continued with that rehearsed smile. "But we're restructuring the innovation department. We need fresh faces." I remained momentarily frozen, absorbing the blow. I had transformed a 5-person startup into a $75 million tech company. My name was on dozens of patents that supported our growth, and now, at 48 years old, I was considered obsolete. "Olivia Patel will take over your position starting Monday," he added, already glancing at his watch as if our conversation was taking too long. "HR is waiting to process your exit." 30 minutes later, I walked through the main lobby with a box in my arms. I noticed the looks from the new employees, all in their 20s, hired after Victor's arrival 6 months earlier. No one offered help as the visibly uncomfortable security guard asked for my badge. "Your access will be revoked at 5 p.m., explained the HR representative, a young woman recently hired whom I barely recognized. "Please don't attempt to log into our systems after that time." In the taxi, staring at the headquarters of the company I had helped build, a mix of humiliation and anger grew inside me. Replaced by someone 16 years younger, not because of competence, but because of an obsession with youth that had seeped into the company's culture. What Victor didn't know, what he didn't even bother to find out, was exactly who he was underestimating, and how that impulsive decision would change QuantumLeap's fate in just 7 days. It all began when I joined the company as its 5th employee. I joined QuantumLeap in 2010, when the company was nothing more than a promising idea operating out of a refurbished garage in Palo Alto. Back then, at 36, I already had a solid resume in Silicon Valley, having helped develop artificial intelligence systems at 2 previous startups. Robert Chen, the original founder, personally hired me. "We need someone who isn't afraid to challenge the norm," he said during our first meeting, "but who also knows how to turn ideas into viable products." In those early years, I lived the classic startup grind: 16-hour days, cold pizza at midnight, and the thrill of building something revolutionary. Our initial goal was to create AI systems capable of analyzing and optimizing complex industrial processes, an unexplored niche at the time. As Director of Innovation, I led the YHE development of our first platform, Quantum Sense, which quickly attracted investors. My team grew from 2 to 20 people. We celebrated every client we won as a collective victory. Robert always emphasized that the team's diverse experience is our greatest asset. The company's growth happened organically. When we reached 50 employees, we moved into our first real office. At 100, we opened a branch in Seattle. At 200, we celebrated our first $30 million market valuation. The culture at QuantumLeap, which I helped shape, valued knowledge and creativity above all else. We had fresh graduates working side by side with veteran engineers. The diversity of perspectives was our driving force. The shift began subtly about a year ago when Robert decided to step away to address health issues. The board of investors, eager for accelerated growth to justify a new funding round, brought in Victor Reynolds. As CEO, Victor arrived with a reputation as a turnaround expert in the tech industry. At 39, armed with an MBA from Stanford and experience in mid-sized companies, he presented himself as the face of a new tech era. His first all-hands meeting was filled with buzzwords like disruption, agile thinking, and youth-driven culture. At first, I tried to establish a productive relationship with Victor. I shared insights about our most important clients, details on ongoing projects, and suggestions for sustainable expansion. His responses always seemed polite, but increasingly brief. The changes happened gradually. First, I noticed I was no longer invited to strategic meetings. When I asked, Victor casually mentioned they were just preliminary conversations, and that I would be updated at the right time. Then came the hiring wave. Within a few months, dozens of new employees flooded the company, almost all under 30, many fresh out of intense boot camps instead of traditional backgrounds. There was nothing wrong with their qualifications, but the preference was clear. At a corporate event, I overheard Victor telling an investor, "We're reshaping QuantumLeap's DNA, bringing in minds born in the digital era." The look he shot in my direction made it painfully clear that people like me weren't part of that vision. The office walls, once adorned with our patents and industry awards, were replaced by abstract art and generic motivational slogans. The break room now had video game consoles and ping-pong tables, while our prototyping lab was downsized to make room for a creative lounge. My team was gradually dismantled. Senior members were reassigned to peripheral projects or encouraged to take voluntary severance packages. New hires reported directly to Olivia Patel, a brilliant analyst but with only 3 years of market experience. During this time, I kept working tirelessly on Project Aurora, a secret initiative I started after noticing fundamental flaws in the architecture of Victor's proposed new systems. Aurora represented a radical evolution of our core algorithm, potentially cutting operational costs by 70% while greatly enhancing capabilities. I chose to keep Aurora under wraps, developing it with a small circle of trusted colleagues after regular hours, not out of disloyalty to the company, but because I realized Victor was more focused on flashy, short-term solutions than on structural innovation. Once it's ready and undeniably valuable, I thought, I'll present it to the entire board. But I never got that chance. 3 days before I had planned to unveil Aurora, I was called into Victor's office to hear the words that would change everything. "You're too old for this position." That Friday night, sitting in my apartment with the box of my belongings still unopened, I faced the brutal truth. 12 years of loyalty meant nothing if you no longer fit the image they wanted. The pain of injustice blended with a growing anger. The phone rang, cutting through my dark thoughts. It was Sophia Chen, my best friend and a mergers and acquisitions specialist. "I just heard," she said. "That jerk actually fired you?" "Apparently, I'm obsolete," I replied bitterly. "Past my expiration date for the youth culture he's so obsessed with." Sophia was silent for a moment. "Eleanor, do you remember that financial analysis I did for you 2 months ago? About QuantumLeap's cash flow issues?" "Exactly. The situation has gotten much worse. Victor is burning through capital on marketing and that premature international expansion, and now he's let go of the one person who could actually save the company." She paused meaningfully. "He doesn't know about Aurora, does he?" That simple question sparked an idea that would change everything. "He doesn't know about Aurora, does he?" Sophia's question hung in the air, opening up a universe of possibilities I hadn't considered. "No," I answered slowly, my mind racing. Aurora was my personal project. Only 3 people in the company knew the full details, and all of them left before I did. Project Aurora was my secret masterpiece, a revolutionary artificial intelligence system that I had developed alongside my official responsibilities. While Victor's vision for the company was focused on superficial applications and aggressive marketing, Aurora represented a fundamental evolution in our core technology, capable of cutting operational costs by 70% while exponentially expanding analytical capabilities. "We need to talk in person," Sophia said. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. And Eleanor, don't unpack that box yet." When Sophia arrived, she transformed my living room into an impromptu operations center. A specialist in mergers and acquisitions, she brought a folder packed with documents and a laptop loaded with spreadsheets. "QuantumLeap is on the verge of financial collapse," she explained, presenting numbers that confirmed my worst suspicions. "Victor has spent $14 million on marketing in the last 5 months. He opened offices in London and Singapore that are bleeding cash every day. The company has about 8 weeks of financial reserves left at this pace." "How did you get this data?" Sophia smiled. "Let's just say the new CFO goes to the same happy hours I do. Victor is hiding the situation from the board, presenting optimistic projections based on potential clients who haven't signed anything yet." A plan began to take shape in my mind. If the company is this vulnerable, Then it's the perfect time for a strategic acquisition. Sophia finished. Especially by someone with a tech solution capable of turning things around. I spread out the files related to Project Aurora on the table: codes, architecture diagrams, preliminary test results, all meticulously documented and legally mine, developed during off-contract hours and without using company resources. You think we can secure funding for this? I asked. Depends. Is Aurora really as revolutionary as you believe? Let me show you the performance projections, I replied, opening my laptop. We spent the next few hours analyzing every aspect of my proposal. Aurora wasn't just an incremental upgrade, it was a complete reinvention of what QuantumLeap could offer the market. While Victor was steering the company toward generic solutions to attract more clients, Aurora focused on deep analytics that could completely transform complex industrial operations. Around midnight, Sophia closed her laptop with a determined smile. We need to talk to Marcus Daniels. Marcus had been my mentor early in my career and was now a partner at Horizon Ventures, a respected investment fund in Silicon Valley. He had tried to recruit me several times over the years, but my loyalty to QuantumLeap had always prevailed. You think he would agree to meet on a weekend? For you, definitely. On Saturday afternoon, we were at Marcus's elegant home office in Atherton. After listening carefully to my story and reviewing Aurora's technical documentation, he asked only one question. Why didn't you bring this to QuantumLeap's board before? I was about to. I answered honestly. I had a presentation scheduled for next week. I believe Victor realized Aurora would make many of the directions he's been imposing on the company obsolete. Marcus paused, fingers tapping on the solid wood table. How much do you need? Based on the latest valuation and current financial situation, I believe $55 million would be enough to make an irresistible offer. So, and how much is Aurora worth? Conservatively, if implemented correctly, it could triple the company's value within 18 months. Marcus smiled. I've always admired how you tend to underestimate your own achievements, Eleanor. I'll need 24 hours to consult my partners, but I can tell you, I'm personally convinced. As we waited for Marcus's decision, Sophia and I worked on our strategy. We created Phoenix Innovation Partners, a shell company to hide my identity during negotiations. I reached out to Benjamin Wright, a corporate law attorney, to legally structure our approach. The element of surprise is crucial, Benjamin explained during our Sunday meeting. If Victor finds out you're behind the offer, he'll do everything to block it, regardless of what's best for the company or its investors. On Monday morning, Marcus called with the news we were hoping for. Horizon Ventures is willing to fund your acquisition with $60 million, 5 more than you asked for, to give you some negotiation room. With funding secured, the plan went into motion. Benjamin prepared a formal acquisition offer from Phoenix Innovation Partners to QuantumLeap, $57 million in cash, assuming all existing debts and obligations. The offer had a 72-hour acceptance window, too short for Victor to seek alternatives, but enough for the board to make an informed decision. Will they accept? I asked Sophia as we sent the proposal. Victor destroyed the company's financial reserves in record time. The board is in a panic, even if they don't show it publicly. This is the perfect way out for them. They recover their investment and avoid the humiliation of a public failure. That night, I received a message from a board member I had worked with for years. Emergency meeting called for Wednesday. Your offer caused an earthquake here. The next 2 days were a roller coaster of anxiety and preparation. While we waited for a decision, I finalized every detail of what I would do once I took over. I hired a transition team. I prepared statements for employees and clients. I refined the implementation strategy for Aurora. By Wednesday afternoon, Benjamin got the call we had been waiting for. The QuantumLeap board had accepted the offer from Phoenix Innovation Partners. The transfer of ownership would be formalized the next morning, exactly 1 week after my resignation. They have no idea who's actually buying the company, right? I confirmed with Benjamin. Absolutely none. The deal was structured through entities that conceal the final beneficiary. Victor probably thinks it's some Asian investment fund, based on a few questions they asked during due diligence. That night, I looked at the box, with my belongings from QuantumLeap still untouched in the corner of the room. In less than 24 hours, I wouldn't just be returning to the company I helped build. I would be taking full control of it. Revenge would be sweet, but that wasn't my main motivation. This was about justice, about rescuing a company with extraordinary potential from the hands of someone who only saw it as a vehicle for his ego. It was about proving that experience, long-term vision, and deep knowledge still had value in the tech world. As I laid out my suit for the next day, I mentally rehearsed the exact words I would say when I walked into that boardroom. Words that would forever change the course of QuantumLeap. And Thursday dawned with a tension so thick you could almost touch it. Sophia called me at 6:30 a.m., even before my alarm went off. Ready for the big day? As ready as anyone can be to buy a $57 million company, I answered, feeling a mix of anxiety and determination as I made my coffee. The formal acquisition process would unfold in Sideshore, 2 distinct acts. First, the signing session at Benjamin's office at 9 a.m., where the documents would be officially transferred and the payment confirmed. Then at 11 a.m., Victor would call an all-hands meeting at QuantumLeap to announce the acquisition to the team, the moment I would make my entrance. Benjamin welcomed QuantumLeap's legal representatives with the polished efficiency that had made him legendary in Silicon Valley. The company's lead attorney looked puzzled, not seeing any visible representative from Phoenix Innovation Partners other than Benjamin. Phoenix's main shareholders have chosen to remain discreet at this stage, Benjamin explained smoothly. All authorizations have been signed and are attached to the master document. The transfer process took exactly 47 minutes. No member of QuantumLeap's board showed up in person, only attorneys and an accountant authorized to finalize the deal. Their absence spoke volumes about how they saw the situation, a much-needed bailout for a deteriorating investment. When the last document was signed and the bank transfer confirmation appeared on the lawyer's screens, Benjamin turned to me with a discreet smile. Congratulations, Ms. Mitchell. You are now the majority owner of QuantumLeap. We left Benjamin's office at 10:15 a.m. Sophia was driving while I mentally reviewed every step of what I was about to do. This wasn't just about a dramatic reveal. It was the first step in transforming a company I still loved, despite everything. I heard Victor is over. The moon, Sophia commented as we navigated San Francisco's traffic. Apparently, he's selling this as a validation of his leadership, claiming he quadrupled the company's value in 6 months. Ironic that he's celebrating his own defeat, I replied, checking the updates Benjamin was sending about the final steps of the legal transition. We stopped a block away from QuantumLeap's building. From a distance, I could see the company's logo, the one I helped design a decade ago, glowing against the glass facade. Conflicting emotions overwhelmed me. Nostalgia for what we had built, anger over the injustice, and now a monumental responsibility for the future of hundreds of people. You look absolutely radiant, Sophia observed as she saw me adjust the navy blue blazer I had chosen specifically for this occasion. I've never seen anyone so calm right before turning a company upside down. It's not calm, I corrected her. It's clarity. For the first time in months, I know exactly what my purpose is. At 10:50 a.m., we stepped into QuantumLeap's lobby. The security guard at reception, the same one who had asked for my badge a week ago, widened his eyes when he recognized me. Ms. Mitchell, I'm here for the all-hands meeting. I informed him calmly, watching his discomfort. I believe all employees were summoned. Yes, ma'am. Main auditorium, 11th floor. In the elevator, Sophia briefly squeezed my hand. I'll stay in the back of the room. This moment is yours. The Balsor 11th floor was buzzing with activity. Employees were heading toward the auditorium with puzzled expressions. many whispering speculations about the reason for this unexpected meeting. Some veterans noticed me and froze in surprise, clearly confused by my presence after such a recent dismissal. I positioned myself strategically in the hallway adjacent to the stage's side entrance, where I could hear Victor without being seen. Exactly at 11 a.m. He stepped up to the podium with that performative confidence that had always been his trademark. "Good morning, everyone. I have a monumental announcement today," he began, his tone triumphant. "As many of you may have already heard, QuantumLeap has just undergone a strategic acquisition that completely validates our new direction and market vision." The audience reacted with confused murmurs. Acquisitions in Silicon Valley often meant mass layoffs and painful restructuring. Phoenix Innovation Partners recognized the extraordinary value we've built over the past few months. Victor continued, ignoring the visible apprehension in the room. "We're talking about an offer that represents a significant premium over our last valuation, a clear validation of the bold changes we've recently implemented." I watched. Olivia Patel, my replacement, sitting in the front row, smiling nervously as she typed frantically on her phone, probably already calculating how the acquisition would impact her newly acquired position. Although change always brings some anxiety, Victor pressed on. "I want to assure everyone that Phoenix sees immense value in our young, dynamic, and innovative team. In the coming weeks, we'll be meeting the representatives of the new owners and—" That was my cue. I took a deep breath and opened the side door, walking calmly onto the stage while Victor kept speaking, oblivious to my presence, until the first gasps of surprise from the audience interrupted him. The look on his face when he finally saw me was a masterpiece of confusion, rapidly cycling through a range of emotions: surprise, bewilderment, alarm, and finally, dawning realization, accompanied by a growing paleness. "Good morning, Victor," I said, my voice amplified by the microphone I had picked up from the side table. "No need to worry about the representatives of the new owners. She's already here." "Good morning, everyone," I continued, keeping my voice steady as I watched the stunned expressions throughout the audience. For those who don't know me, though that would be surprising after my 12 years here, I'm Eleanor Mitchell. Until last week, I was the Director of Innovation at QuantumLeap and, as of today, the majority owner of the company. The auditorium erupted in murmurs of shock and confusion. Senior employees exchanged incredulous glances, while the newer ones whispered frantically, trying to grasp what was happening. In the front row, Olivia Patel sat frozen. Phone still in hand, her eyes wide with late comprehension. Victor remained beside me, mouth slightly open, clearly struggling to process how his grand victory had just turned into a personal disaster within seconds. When he finally spoke, his voice had lost all its previous confidence. "Eleanor, this is unexpected. Perhaps we should discuss this in private and—" "It seems I'm your boss now, Victor," I interrupted calmly. "And unfortunately, you're a bit too old for my vision of the company." A dead silence swept through the auditorium, followed by a few nervous chuckles and even some scattered applause. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, especially not on the longtime employees who knew the story behind my departure. "Just kidding, of course," I added without smiling. Unlike some people, I don't believe age is a decisive factor when it comes to competence or innovation. I turned to the audience, ignoring Victor, who now seemed to be mentally calculating his legal options. "In the coming days, we'll conduct a thorough assessment of the company's current situation. Contrary to any rumors that might start spreading, this is not a hostile takeover aiming for dismantlement. On the contrary, this is a rescue operation." I paused, letting my gaze travel across the attentive faces before me. Many of you may not know this, but QuantumLeap was on the verge of financial collapse due to recent administrative decisions. Our cash flow was compromised, key projects were abandoned in favor of aggressive marketing, and our true strength, substantive technological innovation, was neglected in favor of shallow solutions. Victor stepped forward, trying to regain some control. "That's completely false. Our projections showed—" Those projections were based on wishful thinking. I cut him off firmly. And I'm sure the board will be very interested to learn how the presentations made to investors consistently diverged from the real numbers. He stepped back, finally realizing the depth of his defeat. Over the next 48 hours, I continued, I will hold one-on-one meetings with each department head to review ongoing projects. I will also be available for conversations with any employee who has concerns about this transition. I noticed visible relief on many faces, probably from those who feared massive layoffs, which are so common in corporate takeovers. I have 3 immediate announcements. First, we are implementing a strict policy against discrimination based on age or any other factor unrelated to professional competence. Second, as of today, we are launching a rehiring program for employees who were unfairly dismissed in the past 6 months. Third, starting next week, we will begin the development and implementation of Project Aurora. Olivia hesitantly raised her hand. Sorry, but what is Project Aurora? Excellent question, I answered with a genuine smile. Aurora is the next generation of our core technology, a system that will revolutionize not only our company, but potentially the entire applied AI industry. The technical specifications will be distributed to the relevant departments later today. I turned back to Victor, who still stood frozen on the stage. Victor, please stop by my office, which I assume is currently your office, in 30 minutes. We have many details to discuss regarding your transition. As I walked off the stage, the auditorium erupted into excited conversations. Sophia found me in the side hallway, a radiant smile on her face. That was absolutely and gloriously perfect, she said. How do you feel? Like I've taken back something I didn't even realize I had lost, I answered honestly. The next 30 minutes passed in a whirlwind. Employees stopped me in the hallway to express surprise, support, or simply to confirm whether they had correctly understood what had just happened. Veterans I hadn't seen in months showed up with hugs and barely contained tears. Even some of the newer hires, the ones brought in by Victor, approached shyly to introduce themselves properly. When I entered what was now once again my office, I found Victor gathering his personal belongings from the desk. He looked up at me, a mixture of anger and resignation on his face. This is just revenge, isn't it? For firing you. If this were revenge, I replied calmly, you'd be leaving with your things in a box, watched by the whole company. Since I'm offering a respectful transition, I think we can call it poetic justice. I sat down at the desk, the same one where he had fired me just a week ago. QuantumLeap was in crisis even before you arrived, Victor. Robert left behind a company with incredible potential, but structurally fragile after years of hypergrowth. You failed to diagnose the problem correctly, you confused symptoms for causes. And of course, yous have all the answers, he retorted bitterly. Not all of them, but I do have the one that matters most right now. Aurora. I opened my laptop, showing him diagrams of the system I had developed. While you were focused on surface-level metrics and swapping out experienced talent for younger faces, I was building the solution that can actually address our structural issues. Victor studied the diagrams with growing understanding and visible regret. You had this all along? I was 3 days away from presenting the project when you fired me for being too old. Ironic, isn't it? He remained silent for a long moment, processing everything. So, that's it? I'm fired? That's a conversation for another time, I replied deliberately. For now, you're going to help me understand exactly what happened in the departments over these past 6 months. After that, we'll discuss your future with the company. When he left the office visibly shaken, I finally allowed myself a moment of complete satisfaction. Not because of Victor's humiliation, though the poetic justice was undeniably satisfying, but because of the opportunity to rescue the company I helped build and implement the vision I knew was right. The phone on the desk rang. It was Benjamin. The transfer has been completed in all legal aspects, he informed me. Officially, you now control 62% of QuantumLeap, and from what I'm hearing, your return was memorable. Let's just say it was a moment of clarity for everyone involved. I replied, gazing out the window at the campus of the company that now belonged to me. And this is just the beginning. The first 72 hours after the acquisition were a whirlwind of activity. I temporarily set up in a conference room turned command center, with walls covered in organizational charts, financial projections, and implementation timelines for Project Aurora. My initial priority was to stabilize the company. Meetings with Tawisabiowam department heads revealed the full scope of the situation, significantly worse than I had imagined. Victor had committed nearly all available capital to premature expansion and aggressive marketing campaigns, leaving essential projects without proper funding. We're operating with approximately 6 weeks of cash left, confirmed James Harrison, the new CFO hired by Victor. Clearly nervous, he presented financial projections that were substantially different from what had been shown to the board. These are the real figures, not the adjusted ones. Adjusted is an interesting euphemism for fraudulent, noted Sophia, whom I had temporarily appointed as executive advisor. Instead of punishing the messenger, I thanked James for his honesty. I prefer uncomfortable truths over comforting lies. Keep bringing me the real numbers, no matter how alarming. They are. This straightforward approach quickly set the tone for the new leadership. Employees who had hesitated to report issues under the previous management now came forward voluntarily with problems that had been neglected or deliberately hidden. By the morning of the second day, I sent a detailed statement to all employees, explaining the company's real financial situation, the immediate challenges we faced, and, most importantly, the concrete plan to turn things around. Transparency would be the cornerstone of the new QuantumLeap. Some would say it's risky to share such sensitive information internally. Benjamin pointed out during our daily conference call. It could leak to competitors. The biggest risk right now would be losing the team's trust, I replied. We need everyone fully engaged in the recovery effort. That only happens when people clearly understand the challenge and their role in the solution. One particularly difficult decision was about Victor's future. After long conversations with Benjamin about legal implications and strategic considerations, I chose an approach that surprised many. I offered him the position of now Chief Marketing Officer, reporting directly to me. I'm giving you the opportunity you never gave me, I explained during our meeting. You have a talent for communication and public visibility, skills that will be valuable when we implement Aurora. What you don't have is the experience to lead a tech company of this size. Against all odds, Victor accepted. Maybe out of financial need, maybe as a late acknowledgement of his mistakes, or simply to save face. Regardless of the motivation, his continued presence in a reduced role sent a powerful message. The new QuantumLeap valued competence over ego. The third day was dedicated to the initial technical implementation of Project Aurora. I gathered the most experienced engineers, including some I had personally contacted to return to the company after unjust layoffs. Aurora is not just a software update, I explained as I presented the full architecture for the first time. It's a fundamental reinvention of how our technology approaches industrial optimization problems. The expressions around the room shifted from polite skepticism to surprise, and finally, to genuine excitement as I detailed the technical innovations. When I finished the presentation, a brief silence was broken by David Chen, a veteran engineer who had survived Victor's so-called restructurings. This is revolutionary, he said, still taking in the diagrams. Why have we never seen this before? Because I developed it in parallel, fearing it would be discarded for not aligning with the company's new direction, I answered honestly. A mistake that won't be repeated. From now on, substantial innovations will be our absolute priority, regardless of how sexy they may seem to marketing. Over the following weeks, QuantumLeap's transformation became visible at every level. I canceled premature international office contracts, incurring significant penalties but necessary, and redirected resources toward Aurora's accelerated development. I implemented an age diversity policy, ensuring teams included professionals at different stages of their careers. The most symbolic initiative, however, was reinstalling the patents and awards on the office walls, now accompanied by a new exhibit, photographs of employees from all generations who had contributed to the company's success over the years. "We're reclaiming our identity," Sophia remarked as we watched the exhibit being installed. "Not rejecting innovation, but acknowledging that the new can't exist without the foundation built by what came before." 1 month after the acquisition, we launched Aurora's beta version for a select group of existing clients. The results exceeded even my most optimistic projections. Industrial systems running Aurora showed an average cost reduction of 72%, 2 percentage points above forecast, while expanding analytical capabilities to levels that left seasoned industrial engineers genuinely amazed. "This isn't just an improvement," commented the COO of our largest client during a demonstration. "It's a complete reinvention of what we thought was possible." The market's reaction was immediate. Requests for demos and proposals doubled within 2 weeks. Companies that had previously resisted our approaches now proactively reached out to us. Industry media began publishing articles questioning how QuantumLeap achieved such a technological breakthrough, while industry giants continue with incremental innovations. The financial impact didn't take long to materialize. Our cash flow stabilized ahead of schedule, and initial projections indicated a potential valuation increase of $150 million within 6 months, double the acquisition value. Victor, to my surprise, proved remarkably effective in his new role. Free from the executive responsibilities that clearly exceeded his experience, he applied his communication talents to articulate Aurora's benefits to the market. During a review meeting, he admitted something unexpected. "You were right, Eleanor. I confused innovation with novelty. I thought we had to look young to be relevant, when in fact we needed to be substantial to be valuable." 3 months after the acquisition, QuantumLeap had transformed. The tense and politically charged environment gave way to a culture of genuine collaboration. The superficial obsession with looking innovative was replaced by a real commitment to meaningful technical innovation. Most importantly, we reignited the passion that had made the company special from the very beginning. On a particularly meaningful afternoon, I received an independent market assessment report estimating the company's current value at $190 million, nearly 3 times the acquisition value and more than double QuantumLeap's highest historical valuation. As I contemplated these numbers in my office, Olivia Patel, now leading our new emerging applications division, knocked on the door. "Can I speak with you for a moment?" she asked, visibly nervous. "Of course, come in." Olivia sat down hesitantly. "I wanted to formally apologize. When Victor promoted me to your position, I should have questioned the circumstances." "You were 32, being offered an extraordinary opportunity," I replied. "Few people would have had the maturity to turn that down." "Still," she insisted, "I feel like I was complicit in something fundamentally unfair, especially now, seeing what Aurora represents and knowing we almost lost that because of age bias." Her sincerity moved me. "Olivia, one lesson I've learned on this journey is that the best professionals recognize that knowledge and experience are not mutually exclusive with innovation and fresh ideas. True strength comes when we combine both." As she left, I reflected on how our industry so often creates false dilemmas between youth and experience, as if creativity and wisdom were competing qualities instead of complementary ones. QuantumLeap had transformed not only into a better company, but into a model for the entire sector. Concrete proof that diversity, including age diversity, represents a real competitive advantage. At the end of that day, as I looked out my office window at the revitalized company campus, I felt a sense of satisfaction that went far beyond any idea of revenge or personal justice. We had built something truly valuable, not just financially, but as a living example that meaningful innovation flourishes when we value contributions from all ages and experiences. And that, I realized, was a far more rewarding legacy than any form of retaliation could ever be. 6 months after the acquisition, QuantumLeap hosted its first annual technology conference, bringing together clients, partners, and industry experts. The event, streamed live and sold out weeks in advance, represented our new place in the market. Not just a software company, but a thought leader in applied artificial intelligence. As I stepped onto the stage to deliver the opening keynote, the irony wasn't lost on me. Less than a year earlier, I had been told I was too old to represent the company. Now, I was receiving a standing ovation from a room filled with the most respected names in the industry. Welcome to QuantumLeap's first substantive innovation conference. I began. We chose this name deliberately. In today's tech world, the word innovation is often used to describe superficial or incremental changes. We are here to redefine that word, to reaffirm its true meaning, breakthroughs that fundamentally transform what's possible. The keynote unveiled our long-term vision for Aurora. Not just as a product, but as the core platform for a new generation of industrial applications. The numbers spoke for themselves. Full implementations showing 76% greater energy efficiency, 82% reduction in industrial waste, and process optimization that saved millions for our clients. The true value of artificial intelligence is not in looking smart, but in solving real problems in fundamentally new ways. I explained, highlighting specific use cases our engineers had developed. And that only happens when we combine deep expertise with fresh perspectives. The specialized press covered the event extensively. TechCrunch's headline captured the story perfectly. QuantumLeap Reborn: How Experience and Innovation Created the Decade's Most Significant Industrial AI Breakthrough. The company's valuation officially crossed the $200 million mark the following week, nearly to 4 times the acquisition price and almost a triple the highest valuation under the previous leadership. But the success wasn't just financial. We had established a new paradigm for industrial technology that competitors were now racing to emulate. What mattered most to me, though, were the cultural changes that had firmly taken root within the company. The age diversity policy we implemented had naturally evolved into something deeper, truly multidisciplinary teams where veteran engineers worked side by side with recent graduates, each contributing complementary strengths. It's like we discovered a hidden competitive advantage that was right in front of everyone, Sophia remarked during our quarterly review. While other companies waste talent due to arbitrary biases, we're leveraging the full power of diverse perspectives. One of the projects I was most proud of was our reverse mentorship program, where experienced employees and newcomers formed partnerships for two-way learning, veterans sharing contextual wisdom while fresh hires offered familiarity with emerging technologies. The results were measurably superior to teams homogeneous in age or experience. Victor, to the surprise of many, including myself, became one of the most vocal advocates of this approach. His transformation from a youth-obsessed CEO to an executive who respected experience had been genuine. I made a fundamental mistake, he admitted during an internal corporate culture panel we organized. I confused image with substance, aesthetics with value. The tech market conditions us to do that, but it's exactly the mistake truly innovative companies avoid. Of course, not everything was perfect. We faced significant challenges as we grew, competitors trying to replicate aspects of Aurora, scaling difficulties, and the constant pressure for quarterly results. But our foundation, both technological and cultural, proved resilient. A full year after the acquisition, I hosted a special dinner for the people who had made it all possible: Sophia, Benjamin, Marcus, and a few key mentors and allies who had supported the journey. In a private restaurant overlooking to San Francisco Bay, I raised my glass for a toast. To the power of being underestimated, I proposed with a smile. If Victor hadn't thought I was too old, maybe Aurora would still be under development, and QuantumLeap would be a very different company today. Marcus, who had practically doubled his investment, in record time, shook his head. To your vision, Eleanor, you turned a situation that would have crushed most people into an extraordinary triumph. The real question, Sophia chimed in thoughtfully, is how this experience has changed you personally. Her question caught me off guard. For months, I had been so focused on the company, the technology, and the cultural shift that I rarely reflected on my own growth. I think I've learned the fundamental difference between revenge and justice, I replied after a pause. When Victor fired me, my initial impulse was to prove him wrong. But along this journey, I discovered something deeper. The opportunity to build a better model, not just for me or QuantumLeap, but for the entire industry. Benjamin, always perceptive, added, "You achieved something remarkably rare, Eleanor. You turned a personal injustice into a systemic correction. QuantumLeap today isn't just a more valuable company, it's a model that's influencing other organizations." He was right. In the weeks following our conference, I received invitations to discuss our approach at business forums, universities, and even a legislative hearing on labor practices in tech. Our anti-age discrimination policy had already been adopted, with variations, by several other Silicon Valley companies. One particularly meaningful moment happened during a talk I gave at the CalV Stanford Graduate School of Business. A student raised her hand during the Q&A session. "Your story is inspiring, but it almost sounds like a fairy tale," she said. "For every Eleanor Mitchell who manages to buy the company that unjustly fired her, how many other women simply disappear from the market because of similar biases?" "You're absolutely right," I responded. "My story is exceptional precisely because age discrimination is endemic in our industry. The privilege of having developed Aurora and the access to capital it gave me are rare. That's why I feel it's essential to use this platform to shine a light on the systemic problem." That question has sparked a new initiative, the QuantumLeap Foundation for Diversity in Tech, a nonprofit dedicated to fighting bias and promoting equitable opportunities in the industry. I personally committed a $5 million to its launch, focusing initially on training and career transition programs. For experienced professionals, on a particularly meaningful morning, I received an unexpected message. Robert Chen, QuantumLeap's original founder who had stepped away due to health issues, wanted to visit. When he walked into my office leaning lightly on a cane, I felt an emotion I hadn't anticipated. "Eleanor," he said, glancing around approvingly, "you've done exactly what I hoped when I hired you 13 years ago." "Preserve your legacy?" I asked. "No," he smiled. "Surpass it. QuantumLeap today is better than any version I ever managed to build. You understood something that took me decades to learn. Technology without humanity is just empty code." At the E-Company's year-end party, now with almost 500 employees, I took the stage for a short speech, looking out at the diverse crowd. Veteran engineers standing beside freshly graduated programmers, marketing experts chatting animatedly with data scientists. I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. When people ask me what the secret of QuantumLeap's success is, I began. Many expect me to talk about Aurora, our proprietary technology or market strategies. But the real answer is much simpler. We rejected the false dichotomy between experience and innovation. I paused, observing the caught attentive faces of all ages, staring back at me. Some people think age means obsolescence. I've proven. That age means experience, wisdom, and, in my case, the ability to recognize value where others only see numbers. This isn't a story of revenge, but one of justice, and proof that you should never underestimate a woman with a plan. The applause that followed wasn't just for me, I realized, but for the idea we had brought to life. A workplace where personal worth wasn't determined by birth date, appearance, or adherence to stereotypes, but by competence, creativity, and contribution. As I stepped down from the stage, a young, newly hired engineer approached me hesitantly. "Ms. Mitchell, I just wanted to say, your story changed the way I see my own career. I realized I don't have to fear growing older in this industry. That experience can be valued, not discarded." Her words captured perfectly the legacy I valued most. Not the dramatic acquisition, not the financial success, not even the groundbreaking technology, but the cultural shift. We were helping to ignite a change that went beyond our company and was starting to influence the entire industry. The final irony wasn't lost on me. By firing me for being too old, Victor had unwittingly sparked a transformation that was making technology a More our inclusive field for professionals of all ages. Sometimes, the lessons that come late are the most valuable of all.